I don't really want to make this video. And I just thinking about it, the last however many years it's been since this happened, just the thought of it, it's traumatizing. Like, that's the only word I can use. It feels like that feeling when you're on a roller coaster and you are at the top and you just drop. Like, you know that feeling in your stomach. That instantly when I thought about making this video, that was the feeling that I got. So, no, I didn't want to make this, but I feel like it's my duty to at least use what I went through as something positive, because I already went through it. I already went through all the pain, I went through all the grief, I went through all the harassment and all of the horrible experience that it was. I've come out a better, stronger person, but there's still cracks, you know what I mean? There's still pieces of me that are broken, that I've filled in the cracks with gold, but there's still cracks. And so I've tried to make the best of the situation, and I've tried to stay positive in any possible way that I can. I've like clawed towards it. So I don't want anyone thinking that I'm just like, oh, this ruined my life, and like it was just this like horrible thing and now my life is ruined. No, it's not like that. It's something that I carry with me, like a scar on my skin that I constantly am reminded of, and it's interfered with so many areas of my life. So I feel like it's really important for me to not only have the catharsis of like making this video and talking about it, but also raising awareness, because I would say 90% of women I know have been sexually assaulted. They've been molested. They've been raped. They've had guys harass them. They've been catcalled. They've been through exactly what I've been through. And for me, that's sickening. It's absolutely disgusting and sickening, and I don't feel like there's any excuse or reason that every woman I know, my mother, my friends, my cousins, random women everywhere, like this is just something you have to deal with, honey. No, like it should not be that way. And I feel like my part of the process was being a victim, turning that victim mentality into advocacy for victims. I want there to be more information, I want there to be more resources, and I want girls to understand that you don't have to let this destroy you. You don't have to let it taint you forever. And you can grow from it, and you can live a happy, normal life even after it happens. And I just want to be proof of that. So, just a little bit of backstory on me before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, the really dark underbelly of society that isn't openly talked about. The most important thing that I think has happened with social media is that you can share videos on Facebook, you can share little clips and pictures and PSAs and all that stuff, and people are seeing it. Like, they're seeing it, they're sharing it, and they're liking it, and there's visibility where there hasn't been visibility before, and I want to just help continue that process. So I just want to give a little backstory of myself. My name is Samantha. My friends call me Sammy, and my family call me Sam, or Samantha if I'm in trouble. So you can call me anything you want. I was nicknamed Sassy when I was growing up. I'm sure you can figure out why. And I love nature. I know that sounds cliche. I'm just going to list a bunch of cliches, so get prepared for that. I love fashion, I love art, and I love music, and I love food, and I love helping people and animals and the planet. You know what I mean? Like, that's just who I am. Those are all the things that I hold close to myself that make me want to wake up every day and get out of bed and continue on. So I grew up in this small town called the Dalles, and you probably never heard of it, but if you have, kudos. It is about an hour and 30 minutes or so, give or take, from Portland, Oregon, and I'm sure you've heard of Portland. So, growing up, it was a small town. It was a lot smaller when my parents were growing up, and it's kind of gotten pretty big since I've moved away from there. And living there was really interesting because it was pretty small, you know. Everybody knew everybody. Everyone knew what was going on in everyone's life, and everybody knew me. Everybody knew me. And I don't mean to say that like, oh my god, like everybody knew me, I was just so popular and I was hot topic. No, I don't mean it like that. I just mean small town people don't have much to do, and they kind of involve themselves in each other's lives in a lot of unnecessary, dramatic bullshit ways. I ended up always just being a target. Like, to me, I was just doing my own thing. I was just living my life. I wasn't hurting anybody. And people always made a point to make me feel bad about being myself. They were like, you're fucking weird, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, you're that. And so I didn't have like a great growing up experience in the Dells. But I did when I was by myself. It was always school that was really hard for me. And this town was just very toxic. I didn't have, like, I had one best friend, she moved away, and then I had another best friend for a really long time, and we had a falling out, and she just kind of thought she was too cool for me. I was awkward and chubby, and none of the boys liked me, and so I always just kind of was an outcast, and I don't want to, like, I don't want to label myself that way. I don't see myself that way. I like being a loner, and I like being weird. I don't have any problem with those parts of my personality. I could spend days and days and days by myself and have a blast and laugh and have a good ass time and be comfortable just by myself. And so I never understood when I was younger why people treated me the way they did. I was like, I'm just doing me. Like, I was just like wearing dog collars and putting silver eyeshadow on my lips and just like, you know, just fucking around, like expressing myself and just doing whatever I felt like doing. And people always had a problem with that. And not to mention, my dad was notorious in my hometown. He was like the bad guy, you know, the bad boy, always getting in trouble and fighting people and all that. Everybody knew who he was. You say his name to anybody, they'd be like, oh, that's your dad? And then my mom was, you know, she was like well known, sort of, and then my brothers, their reputation preceded me, you know what I mean? They were popular, my brother had a lot of friends, everyone knew who he was, and they were like, oh, you're Derek's little sister, aren't you? Oh. And so I never really, like, I kind of was in a shadow, and I never really got to just live my life. I was always like, what is she doing? Oh, she's wearing her hair like that. What is she wearing? Oh, gross. Like, she looks stupid and she's weird. And like, I got harassed on MySpace all the time. People harassed the shit out of me. I got so much hate messages. I got so much flack. I just like felt like I couldn't breathe without someone being like, why is she breathing like that? You know what I mean? Like, it was stupid. It was really stupid. I made friends with this group of girls in about 9th grade, and in 9th grade, I was actually the age of a 7th grader. Yeah, I was the 7th grade age when I was in 9th grade, because, anyway, I was like 7th grade age, and all my peers were 9th grade age, and I skipped a grade, so I was just like with all of these older kids all the time. From the time I was in 2nd grade, I was moved up to 4th grade. So there was always this really weird, like, I was trying to fit in and make friends with my peers, but I was, like, a lot younger than them, and I was mature for my age, always, but they didn't respect that. I was always just outcasted. They were like, oh, like, she's a fucking, like, no one called me a nerd, but I could tell there were undertones of, like, people would hate on me. They would be like, you're too stupid, I don't know why you got moved up a grade, like, you know, they just be petty and make all these bullshit comments, but when I was in about 9th grade or so, I think I was 14 or something like that. 13? Yeah, I was 13. I was 13 years old, and I was friends with all these people who were like 16, like 15, 16, and they were all partying. The thing to do in the Dallas was party because there really wasn't much else to do, and I ended up being friends with a bunch of party girls. They loved to just go out and just get fucking liquored up. They love to just get high. I started smoking weed with this group of girls, and this one girl, I'll call her, what do I want to call her? Nancy. I'll call her Nancy, okay? Nancy was like the ringleader of the group. She was the cool badass girl, like everyone was afraid of her. And she was funny, I'm not gonna lie, she was funny. Like, she had her times where she was really funny, and like, we got each each other. I feel like we had a similar kind of upbringing and influences, and we lived in the same place, so we were kind of similar, and I liked her. So as a 13-year-old girl looking up to this 16-year-old girl, I was like, wow, she's so cool. And like I loved hanging out with her because I was like, I'm hanging out with the cool stoner girl. Like I just remember I felt like I had arrived because I was friends with her. I was like, oh, huh. And I was troubled, you know what I mean? I was troubled because I had been bullied, and I was really hormonal, really like sad hormonal from the time I was like 7, you know what I mean? I was just like going through all these fluctuations and feeling crazy, and I didn't feel like I knew who I was. I didn't, like, I mean, who knows who they are at 13, but I'm just saying, like, I felt so alone and afraid. And so like when you're alone and you feel lonely, you kind of lower your standards, and especially when you don't have self-esteem. Boys didn't ever like me. I always would hang out with my pretty skinny blonde best friend, and the boys always liked her. So the reason that I became friends with this group of people, I would never be friends with those type of people now, but because I was insecure, because I was young and immature and so inexperienced with everything, I was like, these are awesome people. So I became friends with them, and I began just partying. Like I would go to these parties with them, and I would just go way too hard, you know? I was like, I felt like I had a lot to prove, and I wanted them to think that I was cool. I wanted them to accept me and like me, and that sounds so stupid, but if you were ever young and in that kind of crowd or whatever, you'd understand. So, oh god, this is so hard. This is just so hard to talk about. I'm like, I could talk about everything before it, and then once I start to get closer to it, I'm like clamming up, and I just... Okay. So, after starting to smoke weed with this girl, Nancy, she got me into smoking weed. She smoked me out for my first time out of a fucking soda can in an orchard, and it was all downhill from there, so I'm sure you can predict that. Basically, me and Nancy and Becky and Ashley, we were all getting ready to go out to this party, and we put on our little hoochie clothes, and we were going to this party. I didn't know where the party was. There was this guy, we'll call him David, and he was like a 20-something, maybe he was only 19. He was just a young punk-ass kid, like punk-ass, stoner-ass, party-ass, in my garage-ass kid. So, he had been arrested, like, and the place had been cased by the police because he had been, like, selling drugs out of it. I'm pretty sure that's what had happened. He was selling drugs, and the police came and arrested him and possessed all of the stuff that he was, you know, had in the house or garage or whatever. I didn't know where we were going. I just knew we were gonna party, and I was like, yay, cool, parties, because, like, that's what you're supposed to do in high school, right? Party. So we get in the car, or we walk, or we get there. We get in the car. We drive there. We drive there. We get there, and I realized, I was like, is this the place? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, and that's when I knew that night was not gonna be good. Like, I really knew at that moment. I was like, so we're partying in a garage that the police have been actively investigating, and the owner was arrested, and now he's back, and now he's having a party. And I was like, so you mean to tell me that we're gonna party somewhere that the cops are surveilling? Like, I couldn't get past that, but I wasn't gonna be like, no guys, like, no, this is too scary. Like, I was gonna hang out at this really sketchy, scary place in a garage where people are just drinking vodka, Burnett's vodka. I don't know if you know what Burnett's vodka is, but it's pretty much some of the shittiest vodka. It's horrible. They had Burnett's, and then everyone was just drinking straight off a 2-liter bottle of, like, Sprite or 7-Up or some shit. It was golden times. Golden times. So, we're in this garage. It's dark. It's dank. We're just hanging out. There's, like, a couch and, like, skateboards. Like, people are, like, sitting on skateboards or logs or something. Like, I just remember sitting on something that was not even close to a chair. It wasn't comfortable, and I was just, like, chilling. And then I saw Nancy and Ashley taking shots, and I was like, okay, I gotta take some shots. So I went over, down a shot, act like nothing, down another shot, act like nothing, and progressively as time went on, I had taken about 6 or 7 shots. And I was getting really fucking drunk, like really, really drunk. I started to just like, you know what I mean, when you're just drunk. I walked over and I sat with the little stoner group in the corner who was sitting there smoking a bong. And I made one of the biggest mistakes I feel like I could have made on that night. And I had never smoked out of a bong. I had never taken a bong rip. I had only smoked out of a pop can and maybe a little glass pipe a couple times, like, but only a few times. Like, I had only smoked a couple times. And each time I got high, I got ridiculously high to the point where I was eating like a whole bag of bagels and like a whole container of cream cheese and like sleeping for 10 hours. So I had no tolerance. I smoke a lot now, and my tolerance is nowhere near what it used to be. But during this time, just for the sake of this story, I want you to know I was a noob. I was a baby, a wee little stoner babe. And that bong rip I took, after that moment, I don't really remember much except for leaving. I just remember that we were like, this is sketch, the cops are coming, or something like that. Like, it was getting sketchy, like things were not cool anymore, and we were like, we gotta dip. So Nancy was like, oh, we can't go back to my mom's, like, she's gonna be pissed, like, we're drunk, and I don't know what to do, and like, maybe we can go to, I'll call him, what am I gonna call this fucking despicable piece of garbage? Ugh. Let's call him Trash Can, because that's what I want to call him. I want to call him fucking garbage and just, ugh. Trash Can was dating Nancy. They were like they were each other's first, and they had dated for a while. Like, they, you know, they lost each other, like they lost their virginities to each other, and it was so special. In 8th grade, special as a relationship in 8th grade can be. And then they broke up. They weren't even together at this time, but she was like, well, maybe we can go to Trash Can's house and like sober up. And I'm like, okay, you want to go to Trash Can's house even though you guys aren't together and hang out with him? AKA, you want to go and stay the night with him and fuck him probably and leave me in the dust, probably sleeping on the floor. I wasn't excited about going to Trash Cans. I'm sorry, I wasn't excited. So we have, what am I gonna call? I'll call him Kyle. Kyle comes and picks us up, and we drive over to Trash Can's house, and we go inside, and it's just like, it's him and this other dude, we'll call him Luis. Luis was like this pretty boy Mexican, like, all the girls wanted him, and like, he could get any girl or whatever, just a slutty little pretty boy Mexican. And then there was Trash Can. And Trash Can, I had a class with him in 6th grade. He was like the nerdiest fucking dude ever. He barely spoke, he was just chubby, like cute little innocent chubby little Trash Can, right? Like, this is the Trash Can that I knew. And then we go into Trash Can's house. I can't believe I'm calling him Trash Can. He deserves it though, seriously. Like, I'm laughing, but the story's about to get really, really dark and depressing and horrible. So if I like seem like I'm like making light of it, it's a coping mechanism. It's like the only way that I know how to handle it. I don't want to start crying. I might start crying, just to warn you. Like, I just don't want to. I don't want to cry. I cry in a lot of my videos already, so I'm just like, I'm not gonna cry, okay? I don't always cry. I just have a lot of feelings. So basically, we're in Trash Can's house. Nancy and him are like talking. She's like flirting with him, but he's not really flirting back. Mind you, I'm not just like coherent. I'm extremely, extremely cross-faded. I'm like 7 shots deep and I didn't drink. I never take... If I took 7 shots at this point in my life, I feel like I would die. So I don't know how I didn't die, but I didn't die. I came close. I feel like I came close. I was just like passing in and out of consciousness. I was like, like, I just, like, tunnel vision and then black, and then tunnel vision and then black, and then I'd, like, come to, and I'd look around me, and I'd see that I was in a room with people. All I could feel was that my body was telling me, you are too fucked up. You are so fucked up. You need to sleep this off. You need to drink water. You need to do something. You need to throw up. This is like, you're not good. You're not good. That's all I could hear in my soul and my body. The tiny bit of coherence that I had was telling me, you're not okay. Like, it was like, red alert. Like, you're dying. And I'm like sitting there, like, and I, like, puke. I, like, throw up on myself. Like, I didn't even have time to make it to the toilet in the next room. And if you know me, you know I'm not the type to puke. Like, if I'm gonna puke, I always make it in a trash can. I always make it in a toilet. I am not the type of person to puke on myself. Like, I would rather be electrocuted than be caught puking on myself. So that to me is like, I'm just trying to communicate how fucked up I was. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move really. Like, I was so fucking sick. And they were making fun of me for throwing up on myself. They were like, look at her. Like, she's so stupid. Like, oh, can't hang. Like, can't handle your shit. Like, boo. And then Nancy at this point is getting irritated because both of the boys are, like, equal parts roasting me, but also preying on me. They were making fun of me for being so drunk and not being able to make it to the toilet, and like, calling me gross and, like, you know, just literally, like, tearing me down, and I'm not okay. And I finally was able to crawl to the bathroom, throw up, crawl back and just lean against the wall, just fucking lean there and, like, pass in and out. All of a sudden, I come to a little bit, and I see that Nancy's, like, trying to talk to Trash Can. Like, she wants to get back with him. She just wanted it to be a night where she could, like, you know, cuddle with him or kiss him or something. You could tell. And he wasn't having it. He wasn't interested. It seemed like he was more interested in me, and she could tell. Like, and she was getting pissed. She was like, how the fuck are you gonna sit here? She was getting pissed. She was like, why are you not paying attention to me, and why are you paying attention to this nasty bitch, like, with puke on her pants, and, like, she's just sitting here, like, passed out, like, what are you doing? And then she finally just gets up and leaves. She just gets up and walks the fuck out and leaves me in a room with two teenage boys while I'm passing in and out of consciousness, and I have alcohol poisoning, and I'm so sick, and I'm faded out of my fucking mind. And I'm sitting in the room. The one guy starts, like, touching me. He starts, like, touching me and, like, hey, like, and I can't do anything about it. I can't even protest. I can't even look at him because I'm so fucked up, and he's just fondling me. Finally, he realizes, like, this bitch is fucked up. So he, like, goes and he leaves the room and goes out in the living room or whatever he does. All that I know is he left me there. He left me all alone with this guy. Trash Can. And I am at the point where I need to sleep this alcohol poisoning off, or I'm going to throw up more, or I felt like if I did not sleep, I would die. That's kind of, like, how I felt at that moment. I've never felt like that. I've never felt so sick. Oh, God. Okay. I'm gonna get through this. All I could hear in my mind was sleep, bed, sleep, bed, sleep. Like, it wasn't full, like, thoughts. Like, normally I have thoughts like, hey, like, Sam, you should get in bed. Like, you're not feeling well. You should probably rest it off. I wasn't even having full thoughts at this point. I was just having word thoughts. I was having, like, sleep, bed, get to bed. That's all. And I was, like, still passing in and out. Like, the whole time, I want you to know that I would pass out, things would go black, and then I would come to. And then I'd pass out, things would go black, and I would come to. And I need to just, like, reposition myself. And I remember crawling to the bed because I felt like that was my last resort. I tried to get onto the bed, and he was like, what the fuck? Like, you're not getting on my bed. Like, you're not getting on my bed. You have puke on yourself. Like, you fucking nasty. Like, he was like, if you're gonna get in my bed, you better take your pants off or something like that. And all I could really know was that if I took my pants off, that would equal me being able to go in the bed and sleeping. And I want you to know that it wasn't like I was like, oh, okay, like, oh, okay, Zaddy, oh, I'll take my pants off and get in your bed. Like, no, it was like, I feel like I'm going to die and I need sleep. That was all I could process at the moment. So I take my pants off and I get into bed. I'm just praying for sleep. I'm just praying just to feel better, just to come back to reality, because I'm so far underneath all these layers of substances, and like my brain is like swimming in alcohol, soaked in it. Like I can't even function at all. I start passing out, and every time I come to, he's like touching me. He's like feeling me up, just like touching me, and like he's like close to me. He's like right here. And all I could know every time that I would be conscious was that he was touching me and that I didn't want him to be touching me. At this point, I had never had a boyfriend. I had never like done anything with a guy. I had never, like, I was a virgin. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want the first time that I was touched this way to be by him. Somebody that I had no interest in, somebody that I didn't trust, somebody that I didn't really even know. And not only that, I couldn't be involved. It felt like I was paralyzed and I just had somebody violating me. And that was horrible. Especially after growing up in a town full of migrant workers who, when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, would whistle at me. I would walk down the street and they would pull their car over and yeah, like suck their lips at me and be like, damn, ma, like make me. I grew up with that. My whole vision of men was shaped from the time I grew up to just feel like I was a piece of meat. Like I was an object to be used and discarded. I had money offered to me in the grocery store. When I was probably 10 years old, 11 years old, I was just minding my own business in the grocery store. And I had a man proposition me. He held a couple $100 bills down, like real discreet, like, hey, come with me. And I was like, I walked away so fast, I found the nearest attendant, the nearest employee at the grocery store, and I told them, I was like, there is somebody propositioning me, offering me money, and I was a little ass girl, and that to me is just so sickening. But anyway, continuing on. So I feel him touching me. He's touching my butt. He's reaching under my bra and he's grabbing my boobs. And then he starts touching me, like, my crotch. He starts touching my crotch. And not only was I saying, like, no at this point, not only was I like, no. Like, as much as a person who's fucking passed out with alcohol poisoning and then comes to every once in a while, as much as I could say no, I was trying to say no. I couldn't move. I couldn't push him off of me. All I could feel was like I was just limp. I was paralyzed. And he I'm sorry, this is gonna get a little graphic, and I'm sorry. But this is what I went through. And if you think it's graphic to hear about, just imagine. As fucked up as I was, I felt everything. As fucked up as I was, I knew exactly what was happening to me. And people, I'll get into that in a minute, but so he starts touching my crotch and trying to put his fingers in me. And I tell him, I was like, I'm on my period, I'm on my period. Like, I kept saying I'm on my period as loud as I could, as much as I could. I was saying that I was on my period. I don't know if I said period, I don't know if I said I'm on my period, I don't even know if I could form that, but I said something to the effect of I'm on my period. And he kept whispering in my ear, he was like, no you're not, like, don't say that, like, you're just kidding, like, he's like, no you're not, no you're not. And he finally felt my tampon string, and then he stopped. Just at that hole, though. Just cause my one entrance was I hope that you're connecting the dots, because I really don't want to have to say it. But I'm gonna drink some almond chocolate, because I just can't, like, I'm getting just... Okay. So, he starts... I can feel, every once in a while when I come to, I can feel that he's, like, touching himself. I can feel it pressing against my backside. And I can feel that he's pulling my pants, or my underwear down. I can feel that he's pulling my underwear off of me. I'm trying to protest, but just when I try, I pass out again. And the little bits that I remember, I could feel him trying to insert himself into my backside. And he tried and tried and tried, but he wasn't... There's, like, necessary steps for that entrance that you have to do. He wasn't doing any of them. He was just kind of trying to... He's trying to go in dry. And I was like... I was, like, trying to move and, like, get him off me and, like, say no. And I was like, no, like... And I pass out again as that's happening. And the next time I wake up to the most intense pain that I had felt in my life at that point. The most, like, intimate kind of pain that I've ever felt at that point. And that shock of that pain woke me up so fast. I don't know how I managed to get up. Like, I really don't. Like, it was the pure adrenaline coursing through me from that pain that allowed me to be able to get up. I scan the room. I try to find my shoes and my socks. I try to get my pants on. And I just look at him. I just turn around and I just look at him and I say, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, you're not gonna tell anybody about this, right? And I was like, I'm fucking wasted. Like, I'm faded. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I have no ride home. It's freezing outside. It was like winter time. I'm wearing a tank top with a big zipper detail down the front, and some pants. And I'm walking in the dark after just being violated. And I'm still so drunk, I'm stumbling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to walk, but I'm fucking stumbling. And still kind of, like, going in and out of consciousness as I'm walking. Thank God that adrenaline was enough to get me out of there, but I was still, I don't want you to think like that, oh, I just magically, like, sobered up and just got out of there. Like, it was ridiculous. I didn't know where to go. I couldn't go to my parents' house. Uh, I I could have gone home. That's the thing, is like I was on the complete other side of town. It would have been a really long walk. And Nancy's house was closer than mine was, and I was cold, and I literally felt like I was going to keel over and die. So I was like, I can't walk that far. It's cold. I need to get somewhere. I feel horrible. I can't even believe that this happened. Like, I was in so much shock. I was like running on nothing, you know? And so I walk all the way in the dark at 3 a.m. in the fucking cold to Nancy's house. I get there, I take a shower, and I go sleep on her couch. And when I wake up, she's there, you know what I mean? Like, she comes out of her bedroom. And I just remember, trying to ask her, like, how could you do that? You know? Like, how could you leave me there? And she tried to just brush it off and just like, whatever. I didn't tell her, you know, I don't remember if I told her, because I remember thinking she's not gonna fucking believe me, or she's not gonna care. At that point, I was just like, what can you do? Right? What can you do? And I was in so much shock that the only thing I could think of was washing my body. Like, trying to wash whatever it was that was just like haunting me, like lingering on me and making me feel so disgusting. And I was in shock for a week or so. Like, I was just walking around like a zombie. I don't remember anything like from that time period. I just remember looking at all these faces and like knowing like they know him. Like, he's popular. Everyone knows who he is. And if they only knew, you know, if they only knew like how sickening this individual was. So about, like I said, a week or maybe 2 weeks after this happened, I finally started thinking about it, and I was like, he raped me. That's what happened. That's all that happened. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't my fault. This happened to me, you know? So I had realized what had happened, but I didn't know where to go from there. You know what I mean? When it happens, you think, oh, like, go to the police, like, tell them so that they can get locked up and not do it to anyone else. Like, that's what I thought, but I was like, what proof do I have? What evidence do I have? Who's gonna believe me? And at that time, I didn't know about victim blaming. I didn't know about any of that. Like, I wasn't exposed to any of that, so I didn't really even have an idea of, like, maybe I shouldn't go because I'll get blamed because I'm the victim, or maybe, you know, I just didn't even know where to go. I just knew, like, I can't carry this by myself anymore. Like, it's been a couple weeks, and I'm like, I feel like I'm dead inside. I can't carry it anymore, so I had to tell somebody. And I didn't really have any close friends. Those party girls were my only friends at the time. And so I knew this girl. I had first period with her, and her name was, I want to call her something really nice, so let me think. Penelope. I'm gonna call her Penelope. Penelope was like really popular, blonde and pretty and kind of alternative. She had good music taste, and she always did her makeup really cool, and she was just cool, you know what I mean? And I looked up to her, and I thought she was cool, and I had first period with her, and we'd sit together, and this was when I just, like, I had no self-esteem. I was just trying to just get through life, you know, get through fucking puberty and life, you know, 13 years old. So, good God. So I finally, like, I was talking to her, and it just slipped out. Like, I just had to tell somebody, like, it just slipped out, and I just told her. And she was horrified. She was like, you need to tell a counselor, you need to go to counseling, because this is not okay, and it will fuck you up if you do not go see somebody and talk to them about it. And I just remember thinking, like, no, like, no, because if I go to the counselor, like, who knows what's gonna happen after that. She was just like, she just urged me, like, she gave me the confidence that I needed to go talk to somebody, and made it important, made it a priority for my mental health and my well-being. And Penelope, if you're watching this, I'm forever so grateful that you convinced me to come forward and do the right thing, because I could have just been another statistic, and he could have been just another guy to get away with that and just continue on living and not be haunted like I am. And I didn't want, like, revenge. Like, I wasn't, like, seeking revenge. I wasn't like, well, fuck him, like, he better just go to jail. Like, I was just like, it's just disgusting. Like, I don't want him to do this to somebody else. Like, if I allow this to just continue, he will do it to someone else. So, I went to a counselor, and I was speaking to the counselor and telling her what had happened. And she started sobbing. And she was like, we need to tell the principal. And you need to go to the police. And I just remember 1,000 thoughts just rushing through my mind. Like, what does this mean? What's gonna happen? Like, everybody already hates me. I already don't have any friends. I already feel so isolated, and it's already hard enough. Like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And I had no idea how much was going to happen. I had no idea what I was in for. I don't even consider that the worst part. Like, the actual thing that happened, I don't consider that the worst part. It was every single thing that happened afterwards that really, really took a toll on me as a person. Basically, the counselor took me to the principal, and the principal sat me down and called my parents and put them on speakerphone and reiterated what? I'm trying to remember if he told them or if he made me tell them. I just remember, like, I just remember being so horrified that my parents had to hear about this happening to their daughter, their only daughter, their youngest child, their baby girl that they had created and brought into the world and raised up. And I had that happen to me. And then I had to tell them about it. And hearing their reaction on the phone was just like so fucked up. So, my parents came to the school. They called the police. The police came to the school. And for the next month, They asked me questions. I had to go down to the police station. I had to bring the underwear from the night with me and give it to them for evidence. I had to go to the hospital and I had to get examined to see if there was any damage done, and there was. And they were going to do a rape kit, but it had been too long, so they didn't. They questioned me for hours. They asked me all these questions about what I was wearing and what I was drinking, what I, if I was under the influence and what I had done. And they were really thorough. I didn't feel like they were blaming me. I didn't feel like they were saying that it was my fault. I feel like they were just asking those questions just to get an idea, I guess, of the situation, of why I didn't fight back or why I didn't do this or that, Thankfully, I didn't feel like I was one of the girls that they were like, well, what were you wearing? They were just curious. They just wanted to know. And, eventually they ended up taking him in for questioning, and he admitted to the crime. And I'm so sorry about all of the noise in the background. My family all talk really, really loud. So back to the business. He confessed. He had an arraignment. My dad went to his arraignment, I think. I couldn't go. I couldn't go because, I couldn't see him. That was the thing. I couldn't deal with seeing him. It was just, too much for me. I ended up going down to the courthouse, and my lawyer was asking me what I wanted. She was like, what should I try for you? What should I try for? How much time do you want him to get? Do you want him to have to pay a fine? Do you want this to happen, that to happen? They were just asking me what would make you feel like this was solved, like justice was served. What do you need? And that was the silliest question to ask me. I was like, I want it to just not have happened. That's all. I don't want him to do this to anyone else, and I didn't want this to happen to me. So if you can lock him up for a good amount of time, if you can put it on his record that he's a fucking sex offender, let it be. Let it be. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly how many months this vile human being should be locked away, because he's still him. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to just execute him, put him to death. That sounds harsh, but I just don't feel like somebody who feels like that's something that they can do to another human being, I don't feel like you should be alive on this earth anymore. If you feel like it's okay to put your body, to encroach on somebody's personal space in such an intense, intimate way, violating, traumatizing way. But I'll get into the effects of what happened in my life after that. So they asked me what I wanted. I told them what my main concerns were, and they were like, okay, we'll work with their lawyer and we'll try to come to a deal. I was like, I'm not Donald Trump. I'm not trying to work out a business deal, but okay, alright, come up with a deal. So he ended up getting a year in jail. He got off early with good behavior. It was less than 2 years, like, that he ended up serving. He got out. As far as I know, he's a registered sex offender. At least I really hope that he still is. I hope that he didn't get some bargain deal where he was able to work it off and get it off his record, because he deserves to have that follow him everywhere like it follows me. He deserves to be haunted like I'm haunted. And he deserves to have to look at the fucking scars and the mess he made. Like, he should not be able to just, like, live life and get jobs and not have it affect him. Like, I want every potential employer to know and then make their decision accordingly. Because if I was a business, I would not want somebody who sodomized somebody working for me. No way. Like, no way, no how. Especially somebody who was so, like, in such a horrible state at the time. After that happened, he went to jail. I couldn't really walk down the street without people, like, harassing me. I had people pull over their cars while I was walking places, get out of their car, and get in my face and call me horrible names and say horrible things to me. My Twitter was flooded. My Formspring, my whatever was just flooded with hate and people telling me, like, you're a Cabbage Patch bitch, like, no one would ever want to touch you, like, you wish that Trash Can did that to you, or people telling me, like, oh, you're just ashamed, you just changed your mind, and, like, you just decide you don't want it anymore, and so, like, how could you do that, like, you know you wanted it, you know, like, they told me that I made it up, like, they either told me that I made it up, or that I just changed my mind, or that I liked it, and yeah, like, I just wanted to get him in trouble, I wanted attention, I wanted sympathy, I wanted, what have you, like, anything that you could say, people told me. I couldn't really go to school anymore because people would yell at me in the hallways, just horrible names, like, pick me apart, pick my body apart. I ended up just not going to school. I kind of dropped out, honestly. I just was like, I broke my tailbone, and then this happens to me. I'm in pain when I'm sitting in these school chairs. Everyone hates me. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the fucking point? Why even go to school? So, I dropped out. I spent a lot of time just by myself. Like, so much time just by myself, like, watching YouTube videos and listening to music, finding new music on Spotify, and just hating myself, you know, just in general, just self-loathing for a long time after that, because I felt like I made a mistake. Like, if I would have just kept it to myself, that my life would have been fine, and I would have just carried on, and that all these people wouldn't have hated me and called me all these horrible names, and, like, completely just negated everything that I went through, and actually said that I made it up and that it didn't actually happen. And I'm like, if I made it up, why the fuck would he confess to it? Tell me that. Like, if someone accused me of a crime that I was not guilty of, there's no way I'm confessing to that shit. So it's like, your homeboy, your boy confessed, okay? So maybe you should work on acceptance of, like, the fact that you associated with someone who would do that, or you're friends with someone who would do that. Like, maybe that's a good step. Maybe that's a step in the right direction. After that, like, I moved to a different town. I was still struggling. After that point, I couldn't be intimate. Like, any chance that I actually did get in the future, I felt extremely uncomfortable, preyed upon. Like, I couldn't just enjoy, like, affection or, like, male attention, and I developed an extreme, like, fear of men, just, like, a fear of, like, being around them and, like, their intentions. And yeah, I've had to work work really, really hard to just survive. To just pick up those pieces and put them back together and then try to have a semblance of like togetherness, you know? And I tried to have, you know, better like, relationships with men and interactions with men, but unfortunately that was not the end for me. That was not the last time that I've been sexually assaulted. I wish it was. But the main theme of this happening was caused by my issues, my running away from my problems, my trying to medicate and drink and try to like. I developed an eating disorder. I started self-harming. I started abusing drugs. I just kind of spiraled after that happened. And I didn't see any real reason to not spiral. I was like, no one even likes me anyway. Like, I don't like me. They don't like me. My parents don't like me. Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, really, what is the point? I got really suicidal. I attempted suicide a couple times. And I'm better now, you know? It didn't just go from me throwing up because I took too many oxycodones, you know, to just me being great and healthy and fine now. It's taken an unbelievable, tremendous amount of self-talk and self-love and self-coaching and people around me supporting me and loving me. And just learning about myself and learning my boundaries and how it should feel when you're intimate with somebody. And thank God my current boyfriend, he is the only boy that I've ever been involved with intimately that I haven't felt triggered by. And to me that is so, so special. Because sex is a really great thing. Sex is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be spiritual, and it's supposed to be carnal and just like pleasureful. It's supposed to be good. It's not supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to feel like your skin is dirty in a way that you could never clean. You know, you're not supposed to feel infected and saturated with just evil, like grime and bad intentions. It's not supposed to feel that way. And to finally find somebody who never has made me even think about it, like, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And
it's probably good though. I got some good studying in. But
I just want to say, just as some tips, just as a silver lining, that those really dark, horrible times in your life, they shape you. And as cliche as it might seem to you, all of the darks in life give way and breathe life into the light. The night sky is pitch black, but that's the only reason you can see all the stars shining so brightly. And I have so many stars in my life. I have so many beautiful blessings and amazing people who make me wonder constantly what I did to deserve them in my life. People who love me and support me even at my worst, my complete worst, my ugliest that I could be. They still love me. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be strong enough to have gone through that and made it out the other side a better person. I love who I am today. Despite all my fucked up scars, despite how weird I am, despite how many people have betrayed me and discarded me as if I was nothing, and how many grimy men have put their hands on me or looked at me like I was a piece of me, you know. It doesn't matter now, because I love myself. Like, I love every inch of myself. And I never would have found that without, you know what I mean? Like, without all those trials and tribulations, those shortcomings, those mishaps, all those mistakes that I made of hanging out with certain people and drinking and just being places I didn't have any business being. Places that wanted to snuff out the light inside of me. And now I say fuck that. I don't go anywhere that I don't want to be. That I don't feel welcome or that I don't feel safe. I have decided that I'm my child, I'm my baby, you know, like, I need to take care of myself, I need to nurture myself, my mind, my body, my spirit. I need to focus on what I'm putting myself around. I need to focus on the energies that I'm exposing myself to, because you absorb what you are around. As much as people want to try to act like, oh, like, it's up to you, rise above it, that's all fine and good. That's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, you become what and who you spend most of your time around, and what you think about and what you dwell on the most you attract, and what you are most consumed by will be the thing to constrict around your throat and choke the life out of you. So my advice to you, don't hang out with people because you think that they're cool. Hang out with people because they think you're cool. Hang out with people that make you feel important and valued and good. People that value your skills and your mind and your spirit, the way you see the world. Find people that see deeply into who you are. Not friends to turn up with. Not friends that you can use for their makeup or their jet skis or their boat. You know what I mean? Find friends that bring something to your life that you can't get anywhere else. That's my advice. And set boundaries. If a guy is touching you and you don't want him to touch you, tell him to not fucking touch you. Tell him to keep his grimy hands off of you. Like, and guys get sexually assaulted too. Guys are victims of molestation too. I don't want to discredit that. I don't want to negate that. But I'm talking about women, because women experience this on a level that is astronomical to me versus what men experience. I don't want to take away from that, but that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about just anybody who feels like they have a right to your energy, your time, your body, anything. They don't. Set those boundaries, draw those lines in the sand, and say, this is me, that's you, stay over there, okay? You gotta do that for yourself, because I spent too much of my life being a doormat and trying to please people, trying to fit in, trying to make them happy, be what they wanted, wear what they would like to see, do my makeup how they would think was good. And I'm at this point in my life where I am done with all of that. I am so tired. I don't have it in my soul anymore to be inauthentic. I just don't. What you see is what you get. And I'm me because of this. And you can rise above. You can be that phoenix rising from the ashes, just as I have. And you're gonna fall, and you're gonna burn again, and you're gonna rise again, and you're gonna burn again, and you're gonna rise again, and it's a cycle, and those lows give way to those highs. So embrace the lows, feel it in your core, in your soul, and just soak it in. Just be like, this is now, this is not forever. I'm going to get through this, and as hard as it seems, it will end. It will get better. And I always say this, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, and it might not be a year from now. But if you've lived 60 years, a couple years out of your life is nothing. And you could go through 10 of the hardest years that you've ever gone through. And then you could have 5 golden years that are amazing. You never know. I mean, there's this little comic. I might be able to put it in. I'm not great with editing, but I might be able to put this photo in. It's a miner. It's 2 miners. There's a hunk of gold, and there's 2 miners. One has gotten all of the way. He's this close to the gold and the gems and everything, but he packed up and he went home because he was like, I've dug all this way and I still haven't reached the diamonds and the gold. I better just give up. And the other dude, he keeps going. He gets to those gems because you never know how close you are. You never know. It might be tomorrow. And if you kill yourself today, if you give up, if you don't keep trying and you take your gloves off and you throw in the towel, you'll never know what could have come tomorrow. You'll never know what could have come a year from now if you tried. There's a path in life that everybody has. I believe this firmly, that we all have a path that we are supposed to walk. And we will stray from the path. We will go off on tangents and the story will not progress. But my favorite thing is to think about it like life is a video game. There's a storyline. If you don't go where you're supposed to be at certain times to trigger certain events, the storyline does not progress. And I see a lot of people who are not progressing their storylines. They're not taking the opportunities that are going to get them where they need to go. And they're scared. And the world is scary. I get it. But as somebody who's seen some pretty fucking horrifying things and lived to tell the tale, I can tell you, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna get stronger from this. It's not gonna break you. Alright, enough of these fucking cliches, enough of this like sappy shit and crying. Ugh. But you know what? Is my makeup still on point? Is my makeup still on point? Or did I just cry it all off? Check it out, y'all. I call this look Sad Clown.